Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy Do Podcasting.
In each podcast, we'll be ignoring the important issues of the day and rambling through a variety of topics.
And hopefully we'll be able to convince some guests to take part too. Remember the rules, Lippy, and this applies to you. No bad language. I really don't want to spend this evening bleeping out your potty mouth. Thank you very much.
I'll do my best.
Well,
I'll do my best.
You'll do better than your best. There's no politics. We won't be discussing anything to do with number 10, number 11, 12, 13 or 56.
Don't know anything about it anyway.
No, who wants to know? And we're not going to discuss in detail global pandemics, although obviously the name will be mentioned. So the last few days then?
I have started my very first big sewing project.
Ooh,
So it did get off to a bit of a rocky start, I'm not going to lie. I had to unthread a few things. But I now have a fully made handbag.
fantastic. If only this was video, you'd be able to see it.
I'm quite glad it's not though, because I put my pyjamas on for this.
Oh, have you? I had dressed for Zoom.
So it's got its little own popper and everything, so...
Very good. Very.
All made with scrap ends of material, so
Excellent.
saving the environment and all that.
So somebody missing a bit of their three-piece suit.
Yeah, or a big square out of their sofa, because it's canvas.
Very good. Remind me to check the back of ours later.
Yeah, it's actually the same colour as well.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I came across something interesting on one of the social media platforms available to us. Popped up about all you need to know about podcasting and starting podcasting, which I thought was probably worth reading, as this is our very first podcast.
I'm glad one of us read something.
It said a number of things, but it said know your audience, and I don't really think there's anybody listening, to be honest.
Probably not.
No, and we didn't start this to make huge amounts of money, although if somebody pays us an awful lot of money, we'll accept it. Thank you very
definitely.
much.
I won't need to get a job then.
Well, that's it. This is more about promoting you and getting you a job. So get you off the sofa, off that sewing machine, and back into working. So that came as a bit of a shock. The other thing that's been quite interesting in the last few days here has been the geese flying over the house.
I've heard about the geese on a phone call with the mother.
With mother of Lippy and husband of Grumpy. Yes, they've been doing well.
Wife of Grumpy.
Wife of Grumpy, yes.
You said husband of Grumpy.
Oh, did I?
Oh, no.
Yes. No, surely not.
Yeah.
Well,
when you listen to that bit back, we're not editing that out either. That's staying in.
No, jolly good. Excellent. Anyway, back to the geese, which is a very difficult word to spell, because however you spell it, it looks wrong.
I'm not going to lie. I saw that on the agenda earlier and I was like, I don't know what that word says.
I think it's geese. It didn't come up as you spelled it incorrectly.
I thought.
But anyway, back to the geese rather than my ability not to spell. Yeah. So they clearly practice over the autumn months flying in a V. And they have been pretty spectacularly bad at it. So they make a hell of a lot of noise as they go over. I mean, it's real, but it's lovely. Don't get me wrong; it's a really nice sound. But this week they have got the V, and there are a lot of them. I don't know where they're flying from and to. Presumably a nearby lake. There are a few around here. Maybe up to a few villages. Who knows? But it's been a really nice thing to see. So I guess they'll be doing whatever they do in the autumn very soon.
I can imagine that's like, I feel like the geese noises is them chatting to each other, trying to get that V in place. It's like, you in the back, move over, move over.
I think that's spot on, yeah. It's either that or, look at us, we can fly and poo on people's heads. Yes, very good. Yes, and the other odd noise, which I think you mentioned when you visited at the weekend, is an odd alarm sound that goes on from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock. And I think it's in one of the houses in the road, and somebody may have gone on holiday and left their alarm clock switched on.
That makes sense.
And it was an hour today, and it's not loud here, but you just hear, I can hear an alarm. What's going on?
That's exactly how I woke up and I was like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And then I've started blaming someone else, being like, they've left their alarm on, not turned it off when they left the house. Well, turns out it's coming from outside.
Clearly that's what it is. So maybe a bit of investigation tomorrow morning if it's not pouring rain. too
Go
far
knocking
away.
on some doors.
Well, maybe not that far, but having a look through some windows. Yes.
Peeping Tom.
Yes. And I got some news from the allotment.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, this has been an ongoing project for me for many, many years, and I seem to have got past the stage of killing everything and now having everything eaten by small furry creatures who can bite through quite thick plastic netting. It's quite impressive. So, sweet corn again, second year running, utter disaster.
Been eaten.
No, well, a few have been eaten, but my method for doing them the first year, which turned out to be very good, I started, but I think the seed might have been a bit too old. And then I've discovered moving that they don't like their roots being disturbed. So, and I think that's what happened. So I bunged some straight in the ground, which grew quite well, but I think it was all a little bit late. So some of the cobs aren't completely formed, and some of them have got yellow on there. But I think I know what I've done wrong.
So next year,
have
some perfect
but my
corns.
beans, my Boletti beans, are prolific beyond belief.
Are they?
So yeah, so we had quite a big bean stewy thing over the weekend from them, and there's a lot more to come. They're not quite ready to be podded yet. But,
What kind of bean?
They're really pretty. They're Boletti beans. So when they're ripe, they're a white bean, but they've got red lines around them.
Oh,
Really
I've not seen a
quite.
bean like that before.
No, and interesting, when you cook them, the red lines disappear, which is somewhat odd.
Interesting.
But the first time we tried to cook them, we'd undercooked them, and it was a bit like eating pebbles. Let's put it that way, and it caused quite a lot of digestive distress.
Oh no,
No two ways about it.
that's quite common in our family. Though,
no, but not
digestive
not like
distress.
that. Sort of
Oh,
more of
okay.
a slowing motion rather than accelerating.
Well, nice change for once.
Yes, indeed. So, I think a little bit more work over winter. I got some compost to go down, cardboard. So
Cardboard.
yeah, it's good for keeping down the weeds over winter.
Well, if you want some, I have a lot from
No,
Aldi.
I got a load because I was keeping it for you, if you remember. So I've got a garage
That's
full
why
of
I've got a lot as
yeah.
well.
So we'll see how we get
Didn't
on. I
move
think
in the end.
yes, I think I've got enough, but if not, I know where to come from.
Definitely.
Anyway, enough chit chat from the week. On to
yes.
the chosen topics for this week. So I'm going to kick off with digital pregnancy testers.
And this one, I've been intrigued because you dropped it in a conversation a few weeks ago, and ever since my little brain's been ticking, thinking, I don't know what he's going to say about this.
No, but this is quite interesting because I came across this a few weeks back, and it was an interesting thread, and it just continued to get more and more interesting. So if you take a traditional pregnancy tester, which would have been around for 30 years, I guess, so you have a bit of sort of wicking paper, and you wheel on one end, and it works its way up the paper. And then there's an area with presumably some sort of chemical on there, and if it detects whatever it detects in the wee, it puts a line on the paper. Very simple, and it either works or it doesn't work. It's very easy. So digital one, you'd expect to be oodles better, more accurate, more precise, whatever. Definitely good. So this guy decides to buy it, and admittedly they were quite cheap ones. This was an American. I think it was 3 for $10 or something.
That is quite cheap.
Yeah, well, it is relatively cheap for something that's manufactured like that. So he took it to pieces, and then there's a very small watch battery in there, which you're going to use for 3 minutes, maybe, before throwing it away. These are one-use things; they're not reusable.
Oh no, well you can't pee on something twice.
No, but you could do like you have with a diabetes machine and have sticks that go in.
Oh God,
Possibly.
You've invented a whole new pregnancy test.
Well, maybe I haven't. Who knows? Anyway, so back to the dissection of this pregnancy tester. So he then there's a circuit board with a chip in it, a little processor chip in it, which he reckoned had more processing power than the very first IBM personal computer back in the 80s.
Wow.
Interesting. There's a little LED display that tells you whether you're pregnant or not, and there's a bit of wiring and a bit of other circuitry in there. So the one thing missing from that, of course, is a sensor that determines whether or not you're pregnant. This sensor sits above the wicking strip, and it's not a sensor to detect a protein or anything like you would imagine in there. It's actually a light sensor. Yes, so
the colour of your wee?
no. So The wicking strip is identical to the one you get in the analog version. So it works its way up there. There's a bit of chemical in there. The chemical turns dark if you're pregnant.
Oh no, it always turns dark. It turns dark further up.
I don't really want to know about this. So, but anyway, the sensor detects whether that line appears in the paper. So all that sensor's doing is replacing your eyes. There's no cleverness in this whatsoever. It is purely a light sensor.
I do. The thing is, though, when you're sitting, this is the moment that you admit to your father that you've taken a pregnancy test before. That when you're looking at that thing and you're trying to work out what these lines mean, it's very confusing. And having those words that say "not pregnant" is definitely the way forward for those.
Well, maybe, but what if that piece of paper is slightly misaligned? So the sensor's not over the line in the paper. Then you get a false positive.
Well,
and you think
then you
because
go to the doctor.
Well, yeah, but you think because it's digital, it'll be very,
It would
very,
be right.
Yeah, but it's not. And all this stuff, of course, you use once and it goes to landfill, which is, it's a disgrace in my view, to be honest.
Yeah, well, with the amount of technology in it, if you said it has more processing power.
That's the interesting bit, because this then went on further, and you probably won't remember this, but in the 90s, around the time you were born, there was a game called Doom, which I think has been made into a film since then, that ran on a computer on DOS, so it's going back quite a bit. But you could network it, so if you just happened to be in an office full of people and wanted to test a network, it was a brilliant way of testing networks, because there loads of traffic going all over the place. This guy has managed to get Doom running on this pregnancy tester, including the LCD display.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I'm not quite sure how he controlled it. I think it might have been, you might have had added a Bluetooth keyboard or something on there, but yeah, absolutely incredible. So these are completely over-engineered for what they are.
Massively.
Which is astonishing. But I'll stick some links to that on our website under the episode page, because it's an interesting investigation into stuff we don't need, basically.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Some clever tech guy could have a little tweak of them.
Well, yes, and reuse them, somebody's weed on into a games console, which sounds a bit bizarre, but
you never know. In 10 years' time, you might have a little pregnancy used test drop-off centre. You know, when you reusable needles and things like that, you have to take them to a certain place.
Yes, well, maybe. I mean, and there's minerals and metals and stuff that can come out of that, so it could be recycled. Really, I mean, hey ho. Anyway, on from something we don't really need to something we do.
Oh,
cheese.
This is my favourite. Cheese. We've looked at ordering our cheese advent calendar again this year.
Very good.
It's a good little selection of miniature cheeses. Get a little bite a day. Great smoked one in there.
Well, that's what you want, the baby cheeses.
Always. Baby cheeses. I find they're better because I don't overindulge. I don't eat more than I should and get weird dreams, because that is the consequence of eating cheese, really, isn't it? Is the dreams that you get in the evening.
I don't think it is. I think that's a fallacy.
Oh no. You get some very vivid dreams after you've eaten cheese.
Well, I don't. I don't at all.
Do you not? Oh, well.
No, I think it's a complete fallacy. And I'm sure there's some information on the internet. So you're safe eating cheese, that's the main thing.
Oh, you're safe eating it, but the dreams are strange. Yes. The stronger you go, the weirder they get.
There was an episode of Men Behaving Badly, which again is probably a little bit before your time, where they did cheese impressions, which, apart from Red Leicester or maybe Edam, would be quite hard to do, I think.
French brie?
How would you... Obviously, this is a medium for video, not audio. But how would you do an impression of a French brie?
Well, hopefully nobody French listens, but it's kind of that...
Don't kid yourself. Nobody's listening.
Well, you do that... Yeah.
But the French have got so many wonderful, wonderful cheeses.
Oh, I lived there for 6 months.
From the sublime to the ridiculous. Hairy goat cheese, for example. So,
A Savoy cheese from the Savoy region. Oh, that's where you get your good reblochons.
and that's the stuff you put in. What's the potato?
Raclette.
Raclette. What was that potato dish that they had when you were in?
That tartiflette.
Tartiflette.
That's also, they use raclette for that as well.
Tartiflette pizza, I think, was the some of the best food we had.
That random little cafe round the back.
Yeah, very good.
That was very good.
And not a calorie in sight.
Well, not when you've been skiing all day. You burnt it all off. We hadn't, had we?
Was that when I tried the... We're going to talk about skiing in another episode,
We will,
actually, so
yeah.
let's not go too far now. But
No.
I'm not sure whether that was around the snowboarding.
It was.
Yes.
The little
incident.
kiddie.
Be careful what you say here.
We'll save that
A
one.
lot better than me. Yes, we'll save that one for.
It's a very
another
good
day.
story, and I will tell it.
It is good. So, if we went for favourite cheese,
Mine is a smoked. I could eat a smoked cheese.
yeah, I quite like a smoked cheese.
The Applewood, I think it's called.
That is very nice.
That is a very nice, and that is
Isn't it?
the first time I tried that was in my advent calendar last year.
Very good. Which day was it?
Oh, they used the same one a few times, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's quite nice because then you find what you like and you can look forward to it.
Yeah, I think there's about 8, and they reshuffle them.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, and then I give my other half the ones I don't like.
That's very wise. The trick with all of these food-based advent calendars is getting there first.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But we also have a cheese box that comes to us every other month.
Well, that sounds very nice.
It was, the first box was amazing. We had a nettle cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is in my top 5. A nettle cheese.
Was it a Dutch one?
No, it was made here because most of them are. Can't remember what it's called.
An ex-work colleague who's Dutch and lives in the UK but goes back to Holland or Netherlands quite frequently, often came back with this lump of nettle cheese and some really weird stuff that they have out there, but it generally was very, very nice. A nettle one in particular, I don't know what's in it, but it is very nice.
The base of the cheese that they use is so creamy, and then I never thought I'd like something that had nettles in it. The idea kind of creeps me out, but
no, it's interesting. Nettles is one of the things I can grow very well at the allotment, and I do think about whether I should boil it down. And in fact, I was reading this week about making nettle tea, which is used as a compost or fertiliser for fruit, I think it was. But apparently it's a bit whiffy, and it requires you to boil it down. And unfortunately, as I don't get so many days to myself at the moment, it's quite hard to get away with that. And
I don't think the others in the household would appreciate.
No, and after the pickled egg incident, then that's not going to happen anytime soon. No. I've been reintroducing blue cheese because it caused a problem in my mouth for a while.
So have I, because I had the same.
Yeah, a little bit every now and then is okay. Don't end up with a slightly odd swelling sensation in the mouth, which is quite unpleasant. But yes, so hard to pick a cheese. That's my favourite, to be honest, because I like them all really, with the possible exception of Stinking Bishop, which we have had in the house and has had to go inside 2 plastic containers in the fridge in the garage.
Yes, I do remember that.
Smells too much.
It tastes nice though. The actual flavour of the
does.
cheese is good.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that every time you open the fridge, it's like someone's put their 5-day-old running socks in your face.
Yes, it is a bit like that. Yeah. Yes, some of the goat's cheeses actually taste like 5-year-old or 5-day-old running socks. So,
And used cheese. Don't recommend
used
it.
cheese.
Use, as in the
No,
female.
I quite like sheep cheese.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Not sure about
allegedly
it.
slightly easier on the digestive system than cow's cheese. But,
There's a weird aftertaste.
there can be. I found there's a goat's cheese, a soft one, you can get from most supermarkets. And that if you leave that open for a few days, it just starts to it changes the texture of it, and the smell, taste, all change slightly.
We had a brie type one that they suggested cooking, and the smell from the oven, and it just wasn't. It wasn't a brie.
Ah, okay. Because normally it's something like a camembert or a brie. It's quite nice hot.
But no.
Yeah, it normally goes. Yes.
But
Well, when's your next cheese delivery?
Oh,
Must be soon, isn't it?
it is November, so it'll be in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, excellent.
Or we could do an unwrapping.
Not sure that works very well on I keep calling it radio, but of course it's not really radio, is it?
I think I'm thinking of vlogs. That's what I keep thinking of.
Yeah. Well, we could always do a video version. But
we could always do a facial unveiling. You know, because people hear our voices, don't know what we look like.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. So I can wear pyjamas.
And I have a face for radio, so that's absolutely perfect.
You are listening to the Lippy and Grumpy podcast.
Right, well, next up is your favourite shop.
It is, and I am attending the opening of our newest one down the road from us.
Oh, really? Are you on the list?
Well, I'm not officially. I haven't heard anything back, but Aldi, if anyone works in Aldi that listens to this, I would love to be the first person in your store in... Where do I live?
Well, we don't give away locations.
Oh, no. Round the corner from me. It's opening on the 22nd of October.
Well, that might narrow it down a bit.
It took over a massive Waitrose as well, so the middle aisle shopping is just going to be... to die for, you know?
Yes, I think it probably will be.
Because their craft section at the moment is just something else. They're actually selling a sewing machine that's £150, and it's meant to be better than any Singer or Brother or...
How
don't know if you know any of the brands.
I know of the brands. I mean, my grandmother, who was born in 1901, she had a Singer sewing machine, which had a foot-operated motor, essentially. So it had a plate about 3 foot by 2 foot, wrought iron, and you sort of used it a bit like an accelerator on a car. So you push it one way, and then it would rock back, and it would then power the sewing machine. So there's no electricity or motor involved in it. Ooh. And it was beautiful. It was so well made. And Singer, bearing in mind there's connections back to the motor trade as well with sewing machines. You know, Peugeot, for example, made sewing machines. That's what they did originally, and then went into cars and bicycles and all sorts of other things. So a lot of that sort of mechanical work that went on around the turn of the century then found its way into other sorts of manufacturing. So Singer is a very well established brand for sewing machines. And Brother, I mean, I've come across them a lot, more with computer peripherals and printers and anything else. But you know, if you can make electronic something, you can make electronic pretty much anything really. I mean, look at Samsung and LG. I mean, the range of goods is enormous.
The digital ones are the best ones, and that's what Aldi's. So Aldi's craft section is called So Crafty, but I believe it's actually Aldi that makes the products, or they're linked just to Aldi, So Crafty, and they sell all sorts of things in there.
So when you say digital, what does that mean?
So it's you get a little screen, and there's triple the amount of pattern designs that you can do, because it's all on. You just type it into the screen rather than having to do the little clog on the side.
Okay.
To then change the thing, and it changes the needle and does all that.
Okay, so more to go wrong, really.
Exactly, but
with my slightly grumpy hat on, you know, on the basis that I don't own a car made this century, But
YouTube is a wonderful thing, and someone will be able to fix it.
Well, not if it's a broken plastic cog, they won't. I suppose these days you can print them. 3D printer. There's all sorts of things you can do with that. Yes.
But anyway, Aldi opening another one near me, so it'll be the second one within about 5 miles.
Yeah, so it's not a shop I've been to a lot. I think I've only been probably once with you, actually. I used to go when I was working in an office, as Jack Whitehall would say, the Lidl.
The Lidl.
The Lidl, yes, we go to the Lidl, which was an experience that was both fantastic because of the middle and frustrating because of the queues at the checkout. And I have to say, if you're going in for a lunchtime snack, then the Lidl is not the place to go, because you queue for half your lunch break waiting to pay, which is crazy.
See, that's where Aldi have a little bit of an edge on the Lidl, because as soon as you kind of 3 people back, they open a new till for you, and they move people on. And I don't think I've queued at those checkouts for very long. And there's people with big old shops, like the speed that they get those products through is impressive, to be fair. But I think with Lidl, you go in and it's all amazing, but it's very foreign looking, and I feel like they have Euro versions. Like when you look at the sticker, I feel like it's in a euro. I don't know why. Feels like a foreign.
Yes, I know what
like
you mean.
A French supermarket. It's definitely in pounds, but in my head it looks like it's in euros. I think it's the yellowness of the sticker.
I was going to say, it's the yellow and orange stickers do feel slightly French.
Very French.
Yeah. Yes,
And
I think you're right.
And I went there to pick up a sewing book, obviously, and ended up queuing for 20 minutes and got so annoyed.
Yes. No, I hate to say it, but I have done a few basket abandonments in there, which I'm not proud of.
No.
But out of frustration. That said, Lidl's tools, some of them are absolutely spectacularly brilliant.
Well, then you need to pop into Aldi more, because Aldi do all the same. They do a massive tool range, a massive car range, massive kids range. Not that anybody needs that, but...
No, but also it's a long way for me to go. I don't
It's
really
one in
know.
Guildford.
Yeah, it's the other side of Guildford.
Or
though, isn't it? Is it
come and
Guildford?
visit me.
Well, once the big one's open, then
Yeah.
yes, we'll pop over to you.
Have a little hunt in the middle aisles.
Middle aisle of yes.
That is the issue, though. I went in for some lunch bits, some dinner bits for the weekend, and ended up coming out with a lot of fabric. I did put it back. I almost bought a little coffee machine that has its own flask, and you just push like 2 buttons and it makes it. But I have a coffee machine. I don't know why I needed it, but it was $5.99, and I was like, that's a handy little.
That is a
coffee
handy
machine.
little thing. That is hard to resist. You did well there.
Yeah. I think I put it in and I walk around thinking about it, and then I kind of talk myself out of it.
Very good.
That's how I avoid buying things I really don't need, and my house is way too small to house all of these things.
Yes. It's yeah. Well, maybe you buy a flat pack extension next time you're there.
Or maybe a new shed.
Oh, there's always room for a new shed.
A plastic one.
Bit traditional when it comes to sheds.
Yeah, ours is falling apart though.
Yeah. Well, they are fixable. The trick is getting it before it's gone too far. I've got.
I mean, our door doesn't. It's wonky, so.
Yeah, my allotment one's a bit wonky, but I use that as a security tool. Well, because it's very difficult to open unless you push literally one side of the shed up.
Someone would notice.
Yeah. Well, what I was thinking of doing is putting some overlapping timber on the outside, because it is beginning to go. It's been up there 5 years now. And I'm slightly concerned that I'll do that. And a bit like my mother always used to say, if you look like that, if the wind changes, your face will stick like that.
Yeah.
What I'm worried is about, I'll put this stuff on there and it will set itself in the lopsided position, and I'll never be able to open the door. So I need to think that one through a bit more. But going back to Jack Whitehall, I think that was the one that you were at. Was it last year?
It was,
last
yes.
Christmas. Absolutely.
Last Christmas.
I do love a bit of Jack Whitehall, and he was particularly
He's my
good, I
fave.
have to say. Yes.
He's definitely my favourite comedian, and I thankfully got to go and see him live at the O2.
Very good.
And it was after he'd been to America, so there were some quite funny little American jokes going on about them doing everything bigger and better, including the intelligence of the people that live there.
Yes, well, that will. We're not doing politics, are we? But that will bear itself out, I guess, in the next 4 weeks. We'll wait and see. So, last of our topics for this week is Christmas adverts. Now, normally I'd be moaning moaning that the adverts had started.
I've had one.
And they haven't. The only ones I've seen are the furniture companies saying they can deliver for Christmas.
Which isn't really a Christmas advert.
It's not really. It's just an informing you that you can do it. And I suspect that all that's going on now, it's very difficult for the supermarkets to suggest you're going to have the best ever Christmas by shopping at their store. And I'm glad that they've thought about that. And
yeah, definitely.
Whether they'll appear at all or not is another matter.
Who knows? I've not. I've seen one, I think, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But I saw an article from Martin Lewis saying not to buy Christmas presents.
I don't normally buy Martin Lewis a Christmas present. Anyway, I don't know him that well.
He's gone national with his not wanting Christmas presents this year.
I think it's a very good idea. And things like amnesties where you buy something for £10, but the problem with that is you
it's just
end up
tat.
buying cheap tat. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it would be good to buy people experiences, but obviously at the moment that's quite hard to cash in. So I think the same as we did with birthdays this year, just forget it. And
didn't happen.
Having said that, I've done 2 Christmas puddings and a Christmas cake. So
I think Christmas presents on the down, but a nice Christmas present would be to be able to spend Christmas Day with everyone that you want to spend Christmas Day with.
Well, that'll be on my own then. with my Christmas pudding and my Christmas cake, sat watching the telly, The Great Escape, a Bond film.
How big a turkey?
How big was last year's? It was quite big, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, same
considering
size
that wasn't even for Christmas.
Well, there was a bit of a cock up in the communication front, but it all went. That's the thing. We had Christmas.
Always.
Christmas. We had turkey sandwiches, turkey curry, coronation turkey.
Oh, that's my favourite. Coronation turkey.
Yeah. All good. So we'll do the same again this year and just not invite anybody. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
God,
see.
if I have to do Christmas in my own house...
It's a bit of a squeeze. We can always do it in the garden.
Could do a barbecue.
Because you can only have 6, probably.
Well, I mean, if we go into... What is it? Very high or something?
Well, let's not discuss
it'll just
that.
Be, it'll just be me and
we're not discussing pandemics, are we? Or whatever they're called.
We're talking about Christmas. At home by myself, like my birthday.
Well, yeah, well, we should have been away, so you would have definitely been on your
Yeah,
own,
either way, I would have been by myself.
Well, I've convinced myself that I haven't had a birthday this year, so I am still the same age I was at the beginning of the year.
To be honest, I'm getting to the age now where I'd actually quite like to take last year off my age too.
Yeah, well, just do it. I don't think it matters.
Next year, I'm closer to 30 than 20.
It's when you're closer to 60 than 50.
Good point.
Yes. Anyway, we've rambled enough. I have put a section on our list for other podcasts because a bit like the publican in the local pub who likes nothing better on his day off to jump on the bus and go visit other pubs because he loves the pub industry, and he's a brilliant guy. He did a beer quiz for the local Lions Club I'm a member of over lockdown, which degenerated quite quickly, it has to be said. But it was good fun, and I think somebody won it, but I have no recollection of what that was.
That doesn't surprise me if you were at the pub.
No, we weren't at the pub, we were all at home.
That still doesn't surprise me.
Although we were in the garden, because you could mix a little bit at that point. And there was a bit of prinking, as you teenagers would say, and it was followed up by some after drinking and a Bombay Bad Boy.
Oh, pot noodle.
Yes, which rounded the day off really very well. Yes, no idea who won that. But anyway, a bit like he likes going and looking at other pubs, I like looking at other podcasts as well. I think the whole podcast community is fantastic because there's something for everybody there. It does seem to be rather a lot of sort of crime mystery podcasts, it has to be said, but there's a genre for everyone. And my favourite for this week is the Sniff and Smith podcast, which is a little bit like this one. In fact, they're just rambling on and talking about cars a little bit. quite a bit, but there seems to be quite a lot of rambling going on. So if you like your cars or like a bit of blokey banter, then I definitely recommend Sniff and Smith. The Sniff aspect was the scriptwriter for the Clarkson era of Top Gear and latterly the Grand Tour. Very interesting gentleman. And Johnny Smith, appears on Fifth Gear, I believe, still, and he pops up all over the internet. I watched a video where he rescued an early transit van from a hedge, which was interesting. From a hedge, it being overgrown with brambles, cut all the brambles back with a massive chainsaw thing.
That sounds
and then proceeded to get this van that hadn't moved for 10 years actually running.
Impressive.
Yeah. Flatbed Transit W Reg, so I think that's 1980. And it's a going concern for restoration. It was a bit grubby, but it wasn't too far gone. So it'd be interesting to see whether somebody picks that up. But the fact it ran is pretty
quite
impressive.
Really.
Yeah. There was a bit of a fire at one point, it has to be said. But, yes,
well,
that was
have you fixed something if there isn't a fire at some point?
I have been party to many fires. many fires. From a very young age as well, so yes, it wouldn't be a surprise in the slightest.
Yeah.
That's the end of this week. Lippy, what have we got next week?
So next week we'll be having a little chat about all-female impregnation.
How does that work?
It's an interesting one.
I think I may have gone full Partridge then. That felt like an Alan Partridge. How does that work?
How does that work? Why my sister cannot watch Team America, and because of the no swearing rule I will not be finishing that. Reply all emails, which should be...
So that's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I would like to thank our sponsors, however we don't have any. So here's Lippy pitching for a job.
I'm currently unemployed, thanks COVID, and looking for an office management role. And then an extremely organised, hard-working office manager, then pop me a line.
If you're enjoying our rambling podcast and can spare a few pennies to help with our hosting costs, please head over to patreon.com/Lippy and Grumpy, and also leave a good review or a bad one. If you have a topic you'd like covered, please leave us a message via our website, lippyandgrumpy.uk. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.